7th grade. Welcome to day 3 of week 8. Today is May 13th. I'm going to take you through what we are learning today and what you'll need to know to be successful on your exit slip. So yesterday we focused on complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary, like you guys went over yesterday, are when two angles add to 90 degrees. And supplementary is when the two angles add to 180 degrees. So today we're going to focus only on complementary angles. So all of our angles today are going to add to 90 degrees, and we're going to add some algebra into it now. So we're going to be dealing with the variables in our terms and our expressions and all things involved there. Okay, so like usual, you'll click on your classwork tab. We'll go down to day 3. You'll see the lesson here, complementary angles with algebra. When you click it, you have the lesson, and then you also have another support link of a teacher showing how to solve complementary angles with algebra as well. I believe it might be like a little into the video. You might need to fast forward like the first minute, but then you'll see an example being modeled similar to what we're doing today. So I'm going to click on my bigger version of the lesson. So for the warm-up, I ask you which pair of angles are complementary. So given the 4 angles, you should be able to figure out which 2 would be complementary. So in order to answer that, you have to remember what complementary means. Complementary means that they add to 90 degrees. So if we're looking for 2 angles that add to 90 degrees, I can automatically eliminate 119 because it's already over 90 degrees. So how could it add with another angle to equal 90? So that one's out. So now I have all the other acute angles left, and I would just have to see when I put 2 of them together if they sum to 90. So that's modeled here on the following slide for your answer key. And you'll see that angle A, which measures 59, plus angle D, which measures 31, equals 90 degrees. If you did the other combination of A and C, it would have been too much. And then also if you checked C plus D, it would have given you 92. So again, too much. All right. So just a quick review of complementary angles. Please remember the trick, right? If you turn the C into a 9 in the word complementary, it can remind you that they add to 90 degrees. They form a right angle, and it's 2 angles that sum to 90 degrees. So these are going to be the examples, what they kind of look like that we're exploring today. Notice that we're not given an angle measure this time. We're going to be given an expression or a variable inside of the 2 angles. But notice that our angle that is being formed by x and x plus 16 is a right angle, right? So that box is there to indicate it being a right angle. We also know that it would be a right angle because they're complementary, which equals 90. So here's the same question, and this is how you're going to go about answering these types of questions. The first thing I want you to do is, if there's not a name on the angles already, I want you to name them. And in my lesson, I name them angle A and I name them angle B, just to keep it simple. Okay, so we're going to name angle A is going to be equal to x plus 16. And then angle B is going to be just x, okay? So that's the first thing. The second step I want you to do is create the equation. Now, we just said that we know that angle A plus angle B is going to equal 90 degrees. So I'm going to write that down. Angle A plus angle B equals 90 degrees because they're complementary, right? They make a right angle. Now, I know what angle A is. Angle A is x plus 16. So I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to put x plus 16 for angle A plus angle B. Angle B is x. So plus x equals 90. Okay, so we're taking what angle A is, x plus 16, we're adding it to what angle B is, x, and when these two angles are put together, they make your right angle, which is 90 degrees, and we can use this to now solve for x. So at this point, you guys should know how to solve these. We're going to combine our like terms. Our like terms are x and x, right? We can put them together. So we would get 2x. So these two combine. I get 2x. I'm going to bring down my plus 16. Plus 16 equals 90. So we combine, right? And then after I get up to this point, we now know, okay, let's put our line and we're going to solve our equation. So we're going to inverse the 16. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. I'm going to get 2x equals, this would be 74. And then we inverse one more time to get that x alone. So I'm going to divide by 2. And we'll get that x is equal to 37. Okay? So looking at it again, we are trying to figure out what x is. And also, we're going to also figure out the angle measures as well. But for now, let's just focus on x. So these two angles, they're sitting in a right angle, so we know that when we add them together, we get 90. So we substitute what those angles are equal to, set it equal to 90, and then solve the equation. We combine our like terms, we inverse the constant, and then we inverse the coefficient to get x by itself. So if the question asked, what is the value of x? Our answer would be 37. But sometimes the question is going to ask you to go back and actually find those angle measures. So let's do that now. So we know that x equals 37. And if we were looking for angle A, we said earlier that angle A is x plus 16. So I'm going to write that here, x plus 16. What I do is I take what x is and plug it in. So we're going to do angle A equals, we're not going to write x anymore, we're going to write what it equals, 37. So 37 plus 16, and 37 plus 16 gives me 53 degrees. So I now know that angle A is 53 degrees. Okay? Then if I go to angle B was equal to x, so we actually don't have to do too much work for that. We're going to write angle B equals x, and since angle B is x, angle B is 37 degrees. Okay, so we have angle A, we have angle B, and then what you want to do for your quick check is to make sure that the two angles you found add to 90. That's what you should do every time, because if they don't add to 90, then something went wrong in your calculations. So I'm going to write check, and the check would simply be making sure that 53 plus 37 equals 90, which it does. So we know that our two angles are correct, and we've done everything that the problem is asking us to do. Okay? Everything that I just went through is in the lesson as well. I just kind of broke it down for you. The following slide has your steps, exactly what I kind of took you through, identifying the variables, right? Like putting those letters in, because sometimes the letters are not provided. I think it's just easier to know where you're looking. Writing the equation. Your equation today should always equal 90 because we are finding the missing angles of complementary angles. Complementary angles add to 90. Then you solve your equation for the variable, and then if the question asks for it, then you also find the missing angle measures by plugging it in. And then you should always do that quick check by making sure they sum to 90 degrees. Okay? I'm going to do another one. So let me just write my angle down. So you guys would be given, it would look like this. Okay, and then here they give us x minus 42, and here they give us x. Okay, and the box is provided, so we know that this is a right angle. So the first thing I want you to do is to label your angles. The two angles that are in this right angle, we're going to call this one A and this one B. Could you call it something else? Absolutely. I'm just giving you those two angles, okay? So we now know that angle A equals X and angle B equals X minus 42. Okay? So those are our two angles. I know that these two are complementary because when they are put together, they make this right angle. So I know that angle A plus angle B equals 90 degrees. And since I know what A is and what B is, let's plug them in. So A is equal to X. So I'm going to write X plus angle B is equal to X minus 42. So we'll write X minus 42. And then equals 90. When the two of them are together, they equal the 90 degrees. And now we're going to solve our equation like we did before. So I notice that I have the two x's here. These are like terms. So that means I'm going to combine. And x plus x, or 1x plus 1x, will give me 2x. And I bring down everything else. Don't forget that there's a minus here, so we're going to bring that down. Minus 42 equals 90. All right? And then we solve like we normally would. So I'm going to inverse my minus 42 or my negative 42. We add 42 to both sides. These will cancel. We'll be left with 2x equals 132. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. That cancels, and I'll be left with x equals 66 degrees. Okay, so we did all of that work to find out that x is 66 degrees. If the question only wanted the value of x, then we would stop here. On your exit ticket, you have to be very careful what the question asks for. Sometimes they ask you for the value of x, and then other times they ask you for the angle. So just pay attention to what the question is asking for. We're now going to solve for angle B and angle A. So I'll write here, we just found that x equals 66 degrees, and we're going to now find our angles. So angle A we had was equal to x. So if angle A equals x, then angle A equals 66 degrees, because that's what x is. So we didn't have to do a lot of work for A. And angle B was equal to x minus 42. So I'm going to plug in 66 for x. So angle B equals 66 minus 42. And that's going to give me an answer of 24. So I now know that angle B is equal to 24. Now, you always want to do that last check just to make sure that those two angles do in fact add to 90. So let's do it. So I'm going to write check. And we'll do 66 plus 24. Does that equal 90? It does. So I know that our work is correct. Okay? Everything I just did is modeled here as well. So you have it in the lesson to make sure you can follow along if I went too fast or too slow for any of you. There's an additional question here. I'll have you guys look at that on your own, and then you have your exit slip for the day. So that is located under your classwork tab. You'll click on the You Do Exit Slip. Okay, I put the steps here that we went through together as well, just as a reminder. And then you have your exit slip right here. So let's just make sure we all can do this. Okay, so the first question is like our warm-up. Which two angles would be complementary? So you're looking for the two angles that would add to 90 degrees. Number two, what is the value of x? So you're just looking for this angle measure. Notice that it's in a right angle. So if this angle was provided, then this plus this angle would equal 90. So you would simply subtract from 90 to solve. Question 3 is similar to the 2 I just modeled for you. So it's going to be something like this, right? Go back in the video if you need to. I model a very similar question. For question 3, they only want x. So you don't need to plug it back in. You're just going to find the value of x. For question 4, you are finding the angle measures. So you're telling me what this angle is and what this angle is. So that's that additional step we did over here when we actually found the angle measures, okay? And then question 5, very similar, same idea. First thing you're doing is solving for x, okay? And then the second thing is to find this angle, z, x, y, because it wouldn't make sense. We already know this angle is 35. You're going to tell me what is this angle's measure. All right, I hope that was clear. I hope you're all staying safe, and I miss you guys. Take care.